Hey, I'm Charlie from Soundhaus here with Dolya Gavanski. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Well, actually, it's not that early in the morning, but it's the earliest I've done an interview so far, so we're doing fine. What's your first musical memory?
Oh, I don't know. I guess my my grandmother sang a lot to me as a young child, but probably it would be a recording of stories like, Cinderella. And I remember there was a wonderful recording I would listen every morning. I mean, I probably, I was, I don't know, probably less than 2. And it was a Moonlight Sonata, but Beethoven. So kind of in the introduction to the whole story, I think I found, it kind of stayed with me. Yeah, probably it's that.
It's interesting that you mentioned Moonlight Sonata and like classical music, because when you were younger, you were a really good pianist.
Yeah, I trained in piano performance for many, many years, and I thought I will be a pianist. I sort of wanted to be a pianist, but then I became a teenager at one point, and so I thought, oh my God, I can't be alone in a room with a piano. And so I got out and got into acting. So I thought, oh well, music is, I've decided to go even a more kind of a risky path. But played a very important part in anything I think I do, even acting or filmmaking or writing. It's sort of quite central, I think.
Do you still play?
I do.
Yeah.
Okay, I had a part that's kind of in a theatre production, which had quite a long life, sort of 2 years, and I played a pianist sort of there, and I was on stage for 2 hours, and I had to kind of renew my piano skills, which was wonderful to have the opportunity to combine the two properly on stage.
Do you remember the first piece of music that you bought?
That I bought? Oh my God, I don't know. Sort of, there are all sorts of, I guess, type of music which I listened over the years, and I still kind of jump across genres. I mean, as a teenager, I like The Cure and Nirvana and and I mean, I love dance music, house music. It's not just classical music, I guess. Or Lily Allen, Daft Punk, and all of that. So, but I can't remember the first piece of music I bought.
Oh well. What's your favorite snack or soft drink?
I'm not really into chocolate and things like that. I like spicy things. So I don't know, something spicy, I guess. I don't think I have one particular snack. I don't know, spicy olives.
All right, so just a little bit before we went live, we were talking about different countries you lived and you grew up in. How come you moved around so much?
Well, partly because parents sort of worked in a few places, and then with them also I kind of come from a mixed marriage, and there was a lot of, I guess, turbulences in Eastern Europe while I was growing up. And then I moved to the UK at the age of 17, again, partly due to Shakespeare. And because I trained here as an actor, and also I think it sort of offered a more kind of a structured environment to kind of study and be, at least for a while. But then I stayed here.
Wow. You just mentioned that there was a lot of turbulence in Eastern Europe because obviously, with the fall of the Soviet Union and Yugoslavia, you created, on the subject of post-Soviet Eastern European national identity, you've created this documentary named Golos Ukrainian Voices, and it sort of follows the Euromaidan crisis all the way up until the resignation of the Prime Minister, and then beyond that, following the individual people. What sort of spurred you to go and create that?
Well, I guess, when Yugoslavia was falling apart, I was too young to say something about that. And when the crisis in Ukraine started, I thought, I really need to do something. And the film is very much, it starts at Maidan, but moves beyond that. It looks after Maidan, because so much of the conflict is based on this idea of national identity and who we are and what we are. So it kind of explores this idea of a national identity, which is never, I think, black and white. Mm-hmm. And I look at what people celebrate. So I look at kind of ways of getting beyond the rhetorical division on the either side of the conflict, and to offer another world, different viewpoints rather than just these are the bad guys, these are the good guys. I think it's never simple as that.
Yeah. What was the biggest obstacle that you found creating this documentary?
I think probably partly because to talk about peace is not very dramatic, I guess. So and really, I guess to people sometimes want answers like who is guilty, who is not, and so kind of to go beyond that is sometimes a challenge in the sort of a film market. But I think it's important to kind of create different genres.
Brilliant. Was there anything that you learned while you were creating it that surprised you?
Quite a few things. I think one, because we looked at sort of really what makes people think and think and feel, and what I found fascinating is how even if people come, let's say, from a seemingly the same background and place, they can often view one of the same thing in a very different ways. For instance, one person would say, "Oh yes, we celebrate the 9th of May very much," whereas another would lament that they don't. And that kind of shows how this whole idea of identity is so multi-layered, and it's very difficult to talk about one single type of a, let's say, Ukrainian or Russian or American or British. So yes, I think that's what I found fascinating. Although, especially in Ukraine, you can see that very much people's feelings and thoughts are influenced by the memories and the histories of their own place, or geographical place. So yeah, the interplay between the two was very interesting.
So with things like the breakup of Yugoslavia in like 2006 or whenever it was more recent than I thought, actually. What do you think is next for like the East? What's the situation like now?
Well, I think it's kind of, unfortunately, the rhetoric of division between the East and the West is kind of quite. It's not at its best at the moment, and yes, it would be wonderful to sort of have dialogues and talks rather than confrontations.
Yeah. So, lastly, before we move on, where can we see your documentary?
So the documentary has been at quite a few international festivals, and it's won an award at the London Independent Film Festival. So now, soon, it will be available also on Amazon Prime and other online platforms, hopefully. But yes, it's been shown on Lithuanian TV and also in Russia and Ukraine, which is, I think, a success in itself.
Brilliant. So you're a director. You mentioned that you're a theatre performer. You're an accomplished pianist. How do you get into voice acting on top of all of that?
Well, I'm a trained actor. I've trained in the UK, and vocal work is one of the it's a very important part of the training. So I've done quite a bit of radio as well, and I voiced a few other characters too. So it's a kind of a natural progression, and I really, really love it because it lets you just act. You do not have to worry about makeup or your hair or silly things like that. You can just freely act. So I love doing voice work, and yes, Zarya is a wonderful character. I love larger than life characters.
So, on talking of Zarya, how did you get involved with Blizzard? Did they put like a advert out in like the newspaper, and you went and called them up?
No, I was invited to an audition, and so I read Zarya and I got Zarya.
What was the process like working for Blizzard? Did you fly out to LA? Did you do it over here?
We did it over here, and we did lots of sessions with the Blizzard partners here, and with Skype calls and with various people online at the same time, and it's been very, very exciting, and it's been sort of a process which Zarya has been with me for, I don't know, almost 2 years in sort of here and there, and hopefully much more to come. So yes, I've worked from London.
You said that Zarya is a larger than life character. How fun was it to sort of get to scream as this big Russian lady?
Oh, well, I think it's great fun, obviously, and it kind of grew over time as well. Mm-hmm. I think she became more funny over time. Hopefully, I kind of I think, probably one of my favorite characters, because, in the sort of real life, in theater or film, you rarely get such an opportunity to play such a character. So it's wonderful, it's like an actor's treat.
Yeah, you mentioned that you sort of put a bit of extra into Zarya, I guess. Where did the accent come from? Like, was it based on something you'd heard? Because it's not a million miles away from your own accent, but how did you fine tune it?
It was sort of I decided to go, or we decided to go a little bit stronger on the Russian accent, and but obviously still you can't overdo it because you have to be clear. It was a fine balance, but it kind of also became so much part of her that almost one can't think of Zarya without that voice and that accent. I mean, don't you agree?
Yes, no. Well, this is it. This is why we're interviewing all the voice actors, because it's such a big part of their identity is what they sound like and how they look. And you've all done a wonderful job of making it your own. Do you have any favorite voice lines for Zarya?
Quite a few. Obviously, I'm the strongest woman in the world. You rarely get a chance to say things like that. Like the grizzly bear line, I want to hug you like a big, oh, what is I want to hug you, all of that. Oh God, there's so many. There's sort of, in the times, it will just get more and more, outrageous and funny and in some ways also real, that even, again, it's difficult to pick one, but in Russia gameplay is you, and all these lines are quite a genius.
Brilliant. How did you realize before you did the game how big it was going to get?
No. I don't think about it. I kind of go and do my job, but maybe, I guess, as I was kept on being called back, I sort of realized it's getting bigger and bigger.
Right, okay, before we finish, what's your favorite cake and what's your favorite ice cream?
Oh, cake. I told you I'm not very much into sort of chocolatey things. So
olive cake.
I think it must be something in walnuts or something like that. But ice cream, I think I'll be very sort of simple there. It's vanilla.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Okay, thank you, Charlie.
The audiophiles among you, and those of you who have got eyes, will notice that this episode is far more polished than all the previous ones. All the credit for that goes to Weinerdog Media and Bitcrush Audio. Please follow the links in the description to go check out their pages. The fact that they've turned this Windows Movie Maker and Audacity train wreck into the video you've just watched should be enough of a testament to their skills. Thank you.